Hello guys, welcome again to the channel. I want to mention some news that came up to my attention today regarding the situation in Ukraine currently. And there is this news article that says US calls off ICBM test citing Russia tensions. So this to me seems like right thing to do. Currently, there is no need to escalate the status of the situation in Ukraine any further. So I see this as something welcome, and it says here some more details about this. They had a test plan for an ICBM that is a kind of ICBM that is called Minuteman 3 Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. So that's what ICBM stands for. And they say that it was out of caution. They just didn't want to, increase the tensions already in this region. So this is something good. And then we see the opposite happening in Poland, like really reckless provocation. So this comes from Poland's Deputy Prime Minister Jarosław Kaczyński, and he says this: he's open to the idea of the U.S. deploying tactical nuclear weapons in his country. So, for those of you who don't know what tactical nuclear weapons are compared to ICBMs, tactical nuclear weapons usually have smaller nuclear yield, so they are smaller bombs in a way, but anyway, they are terrible weapons, nuclear weapons. They can destroy many things that normal bombs will not be able to. So that's why they try to sell the idea that nuclear weapons are harmless if they are tactical. So that's why they create this category. So they are just basically smaller nuclear weapons. Some of these weapons are smaller in yield than nuclear weapons that were, you know, dropped on top of Japan during the World War II. So regardless of this, they are nuclear weapons and they are going to cause a lot of tensions in the area. If you were not aware of the situation right before the war started with Ukraine, the president of Ukraine was calling for, you know, getting out of the United Nations treaty, to not use nuclear weapons. They say they were trying to get themselves some nuclear weapons, and after that the invasion came. So there were a lot of provocations that if Russia was already, nervous about the entire situation and saw this like the ultimate drop in the bucket that was really going to cause everything to fall down. And now I don't understand really why Poland is so adamant to be like just neutral or just don't say anything. They seem like really hell bent on trying to provoke some kind of response from Russia. But if they do that, and it's just completely reckless, really. And on top of that, they are calling for even more more American troops, to counter the Russian threat. They say, So I just don't see this playing out well. Basically, this follows the doctrine of escalate to de-escalate. So what this doctrine says is, if you hit me in the face, then I will hit you in the balls, so that you will know that I am serious about it, and you will not try to go even further than that. So this really is nothing to do with peace. So it's just really reckless. I don't understand how these politicians think. Maybe they just don't think at all. I don't know what is the end goal. If you see one of my previous videos, I just see this playing out like in the worst possible scenario. Like they are going to escalate, bringing nuclear weapons right to the backyard of Russia. How is that smart? I don't see this like in any way coming with a positive result. But they see somehow that to think that, oh, I have nuclear weapons now, Russia is not going to invade. Of course, is going to be perceived as a threat to Russia. Like a lot of people mention, which is of course part of history, is the situation with the Russian missiles in Cuba, which were right next to Florida, of all places. So, if you are not sure what happened during that time, almost nuclear war broke up. So I don't see this having any different results. So why people think that if you do the same thing, you're going to have a different result? People just don't learn from history, or they don't even study it. This is my opinion. So I'm really upset because I'm just a human being and I don't want to die. Don't think nobody in this planet wants to die, but people like politicians, they just want to seem tough because of elections, so they want to be re-elected, and that's why I think they're doing this, because there is no other explanation, but that is just absolutely selfish and completely out of touch with reality. And there is another news piece that I wanted to mention, which is this news that says Britain could build 7 nuclear power stations. This is to kind of compensate for the energy dependence on Russian gas, which is significant in UK, and it is even more significant in the rest of Europe, in the European Union. Um, there was even some talk. I just recently watched a video on YouTube from one of the channels I follow, which was mentioning that the UK is planning to seize or nationalize the Gazprom company and their assets in UK. So this is again, yes, more provocation, but is the kind of provocation that probably Russia was expecting. In a way, is what they call a tit for tat. Russia, I think, had the situation I read about it, that they were not going to return these airliners that were leased, because unilaterally the leasing companies decided to cancel the contract, and they say, "Oh, give me back 500 planes." And I think the response from Russia was that they were not going to give them back. And on top of that, all the Western companies that decided to close operations in Russia, and Russia threatened that they were going to nationalize all these companies, all their assets. So this is just more escalation, causing more harm to the economy of every country involved. Some people think, oh, only Russia is affected. No, it's not only Russia that is affected. Every country in the world is affected, because Russia and Ukraine are one of the biggest food producers in the world, grain particularly, all kinds of grains, and is just going to have repercussions in ways they didn't foresee. And unfortunately, many countries in the world are fully dependent on these kind of imports. And they just recently banned grain exports in Russia, so that is huge, especially for Europe. Maybe in America, all the American continent has different sources for food. Maybe they are self-reliant, but certainly Asia, Africa, and Europe are not. So this is going to cause maybe some really horrible food situations, food insecurity. That is already a problem currently in our world. So that's really awful. I don't see how things are going to improve, and that is really worrisome. I hope I will have something more positive to say, but really the solution for this is not in the hands of the politicians. People should think on their own, form their own opinion, and start following the trend. Stop eating the propaganda, and just try to do their own to make their own decisions, to take their own decisions, to see different sources of information, and don't just judge. Be so quick to judge, and because we need to think also about ourselves. Politicians think about themselves, so we need to think about themselves to ourselves too as human beings. So that's all, guys. I wanted to say for now. If you have any comments or questions, just write them in the comment section below. As always, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.